And I know I'm supposed to start with a joke, but I'm going to start with something really sad. Story of my life. Today, Bitcoin reached 81,000 US. When I was first teaching Bitcoin as a payment system, many years ago, it was $250. 250. And I remember my close friend who was working for a crypto exchange, Anthony Lewis, he told me, Eliza, buy Bitcoin. And I said to him, Anthony, you're so stupid. I can buy shoes for that. Okay, so 250 versus 81. 2 life lessons. Listen to experts. Second life lesson, listen to experts. Okay, of course, I'm not an expert in investing, but I know a thing or two about contract law. And one thing I know about contract law is the agenda. Intro, what are smart contracts? Confusion. This is like a separate point on the agenda. There's going to be a lot of confusion. Why do we need smart contracts? And then some technical issues. This is a QR code. It should work because the publisher did not agree to release the paper. There is actually a paper. Why should contracts be smart? So this is a QR code to all my other smart contract papers. It should work, I hope. So going back to contract law. Contract law is boring. If I was just here to tell you about contract law, well, you wouldn't be here, would you? No, maybe for okay, one of you. So maybe for the entertainment value of you calling me Eliza, but otherwise you wouldn't be here. So contract law is boring. Although I'm a contract lawyer, I was dragged into smart contracts about 10 years ago. And I don't want to do them, but I got stuck. So let's make contracts great again by making them computable. Yay. Data-driven. Wow. Algorithmic. Intelligent. Or just smart. Okay, those terms are actually quite unclear, but they sound very interesting because if you precede the word contract with algorithmic, AI, electronic, online, computable is particularly amazing. You get published, and Benjamin will invite you. So let's just stick to smart. Ladies and gentlemen, what does it mean? What does the word smart actually mean? We kind of know what it means in relation to people. Yes, somebody is smart, but the term has been very popular with devices or objects that are connected to the internet, like a smart fridge, and contain a chip. So we have smart TVs, smart coffee machines, smart toothbrushes, smart speakers, and so on and so forth. But how can you make a contract smart? Well, you can't really connect a contract to the internet because it's either the document or the abstract agreement. You can't really put a chip in it. Well, it's just kind of impossible, although you could glue it to a paper page. But now, so it has become commonplace to associate smartness also with expression in code. So something is smart in the area of contract law because it is expressed in code. So we have to forget this whole smart fridge, smart toothbrush, smart devices, and kind of shift away from connectivity and containing a chip to expression in code. On the left, Shiba Inu. On the right, some existential questions. And what are we trying to achieve here? Why would we want to express a contract in code? Of course, it sounds very nice. I write my contract in code. Here we go. Benjamin invites you again, and you need an even bigger auditorium. But it looks to me you would want to express something in code because we want to automate something. Okay? The problem is, what exactly are we trying to automate? Do we want to automate contract performance, or maybe we just want to automate contract or facilitate contract management? Well, spoiler alert, when you look at the more recent data and papers on smart contracts, it's not just about automation of performance, which is kind of obvious, but predominantly and surprisingly about managing contractual documents by making them computer readable. And forgive me, but contract management, I mean, I don't particularly care because I don't manage contracts, I negotiate them, okay? I think the average lawyer actually doesn't manage contracts because that's something that's being done once the contract has been concluded, signed, done deal, and then the contract management people take over. You drop out of the picture. But that's not very interesting, not great, not sexy. So probably start with performance. Now, first problem. When we hear, and we're all lawyers here, some of us are practitioners, some of us are academics, but even the practitioners at some stage, we have to face the music and answer the simple question, what should we analyze the smart contract as? Where do we put it? In what category? And of course, we have smart contracts on paper, and there's something completely different from smart contracts in practice. For smart contracts in practice are actually quite easy, and I will show you some, assuming we have time. And on paper, you have, theoretical discussions, descriptions, and a lot of predictions. Please note how many papers and reports are written in future tense. Smart contracts will revolutionize commerce and will replace lawyers and so on and so forth. Then we also have legal analysis, and then we have actual technology. And the problem is legal analysis are quite often completely and 100% detached from the technology because lawyers, we want to do legal stuff. We don't want to read technical papers. We do not want to analyze code. We do not want to analyze protocols or Ethereum improvement proposals, okay? So we just want to kind of brew in our own soup of law and words, which is kind of fine. But understandable. The problem is the legal analysis of smart contracts, or the whole blockchain theory, they recycle each other, quite often without much reliance on technical papers and on how smart contracts work in practice. This is a very old tweet. I think everybody has seen it. This is Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum, and Ethereum was specifically, this is the second generation and second biggest blockchain proposed, created, and developed by Vitalik, specifically for smart contracts. So Vitalik tweeted this a long time ago, and he said like, I shouldn't have called smart contracts. They're just persistent scripts, to which another guy responded, well, I like stored procedures. If you guys don't know what stored procedures is, because I didn't know, it's like macros in Excel, literally. Yes, I know, like I see the look of disappointment on your face. You came here all the way and they're going to talk about macros and stored procedures. Anyways, but it is a very interesting term and it has kept me busy for many years. So I would really like everyone to look at this particular document because it's very common to state that smart contracts have so many different definitions, which is kind of true, but those definitions are recycled predominantly in legal literature because we actually do have a technical definition. And why do I like this definition? I mean, I don't really like it or dislike it. I rely on it because it's the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's like a nonpartisan, very neutral, non-regulatory agency that defines various technologies. And it's a bit like the US ISO. And you can see this is completely unrelated to anything legal. So this is a technical definition. Please note the same agency has given us the definition of cloud computing, software as a service, digital signatures, so that they didn't just pop up last night. They've been around forever. And their definitions of technical terms have been regarded as authoritative for many years. So we have a definition here. I don't see anything legal here. It's just a piece of code. Now, when we go, I could give you many of those technical definitions and they're all more or less the same. We can also go to the tutorial about smart contracts on Ethereum, which again is the native blockchain for smart contracts. And it also says, hello, it's basically a computer program. Then it goes a little bit into detail. It's a bit of a long definition that actually goes on over a couple of pages. It says it's a computer program. It's also a type of Ethereum account because we have different types of accounts on Ethereum. And then the funny thing is, they just can't help it. I have noticed even technical people at some stage, because they see the word contract, they feel the need to kind of slide into legal terminology. They just, because they're also a little bit confused because the term has been tolerated for so long. So please have a look. How do rules influence smart contracts? By submitting transactions that execute a function defined via the smart contract. Okay, sounds weird. Like a regular contract, these define rules. Those rules are automatically enforced using the code. Let's just pin this automatic enforcement. Okay, it's very confusing, those sentences. I realize, but the most important thing is technical literature is unanimous. Those are computer programs. Now, also, to make things a little bit more complicated, there's a very strong relationship between smart contracts and something that's called ERC20. ERC20 is a token standard. It effectively, in a nutshell, defines how tokens are transferred on Ethereum. And a token can represent anything. It can represent money, it can represent NFTs, it can represent houses, cars, anything. And ERC20 is the standard in which you hold or represent those tokens. And smart contracts, don't worry, I'm not going to go on about the technicalities. Smart contracts, for all intents and purposes, are ways of transferring ERC tokens. That's all they do. They're transfer mechanism to move tokens between accounts. Transfer tokens, get the token supply, approve whether the token. So it's a little bit like software managing bank accounts. And I guess that you don't really care what software runs your bank account as long as the money is there and is securely transferred, or if your salary is transferred, or if you have to make a bank transfer. Now, looks like smart contracts are computer programs. Okay. The main difference between a traditional computer program is that they are executed in a distributed environment by every node in a blockchain. This is usually the moment where my students want to leave the classroom or switch to whatever they're doing on their smartphone. They don't want to know. So what does it actually mean? Because then you're probably asking yourself, so how do smart contracts relate to blockchains? And blockchains are distributed, cryptographically secured database. That's database. What does a database do? Well, again, it's something extremely boring, and we don't really care. Databases store data. I apologize. I noticed some of you already look very, very bored. So, yeah, thank you. So how does this even relate to a smart contract? Okay, let's pause here. Think of the blockchain as a foundation or a base layer. Now, let's make it easier. Think of a blockchain as bread. I'm serious. This was an example given to me by a blockchain, by a smart contract developer. Now, do we have any Italians here? No Italians, because I hear some Italians, no, they're hiding. Okay. Some Italians eat plain bread. Because some of you look a bit Italian. Okay, that's a compliment. Okay, would anyone eat plain bread or even a plain pizza? Well, not really. I mean, maybe if you're like super hungry, but Even if the bread is amazing, nutritious, yummy, fresh, crispy, bread is always nicer when you eat it as a sandwich. So we're going to put some toppings on the bread. We need cheese, ham, salami, whatever you want. Okay, maybe not tofu. And then we need something to keep the cheese and the ham on top of the bread. So some of you will say mayonnaise, some of you will say butter. I think mayonnaise is a really bad idea, but whatever, okay? So think about the layers and think as the blockchain as very, very good, nutritious, crispy, delicious, amazing bread. And smart contracts are actually the topping. They provide the blockchain with additional functionality. So we have a super boring database that just stores whatever cryptocurrency it produces and transfers. And blockchains enable you to move whatever is stored between accounts. So smart contracts are the topping. Very important. They sit on the blockchain. The small detail is actually really important. They're not in, they're on. This is why the sandwich example is actually quite good. So they provide extra functionality, and this functionality is slightly different depending on the blockchain. But really think about the topping. We're putting the butter on the side for the time being. It's a cooking class. Should have advertised this as like a cooking class. More people would have come. Okay, this is actually an example of a smart contract. Please note, I mean, those slides can be made available to you. I don't have a problem with sharing. On the bottom of the slide, there is a link to this particular contract. And I know, I just couldn't help it. This contract is called MAGA, which means make altcoins great again. So it's not really political. And please note, on the bottom, I have marked in yellow that it is an ERC-20 contract. So effectively, what this thing does, I know it looks, you can scroll down. It takes about 5 pages to scroll down. So I just gave you a screenshot. As I said, link is on the bottom, and if we have time, I will show you the rest. And please have a look at this tiny word on the left side, verified. This is going to become important a bit later. So the MAGA contract effectively moves MAGA tokens between accounts on Ethereum. Okay, now those of you who are allergic to Elon Musk, who is the new star, please have a look at this. Okay.
So let me be the guy. You posted a meme on Twitter recently where there's like a row of urinals. A guy just walks all the way across.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he tells you about crypto.
Listen, I mean, that's happened to me so many times. I think maybe even literally.
Yeah. Do you think, technologically speaking, there's any room for ideas of smart contracts or so on? Because you mentioned laws. That's an interesting use of things like smart contracts to implement the laws by which governments function. Like something built on Ethereum, or maybe a dog coin that enables smart contracts somehow.
I don't quite understand this whole smart contract thing.
So
I'm too dumb to understand smart contracts.
That's a good line.
I think that's enough, but complete confusion, implementing governmental laws, governmental regulations on Ethereum, and then Elon admits that he's too dumb to understand smart contracts. I just wanted everyone to feel better if this is confusing. Because technically we could just say, yeah, smart contracts are computer programs. Thank you, any questions? And I haven't had lunch yet, we can go. But no, this is where it gets interesting. What is the purpose of smart contracts? Please remember, this is not what I think, this is what I picked up predominantly from some legal literature, but also from some crypto literature. So replace the need to trust humans and traditional legal institutions with the ability to trust code. I think this sounds very, very cool. Guarantee performance, make a contract unbreakable, sounds even better. Prevent breach, make it technically impossible. The next one is my favorite, obviously. Haha. make lawyers and judges and bankers obsolete, eliminate intermediaries, and make the contract terms visible to all. This looks a little bit, forgive my language, but idiotic and absurd. But let's pause here. Where does this come from? Please remember that Bitcoin and the whole crypto theory came into being just after or around the global financial crisis. And there was this general distrust to bankers, lawyers, and governmental institutions, predominantly bankers and governments, but we got kind of thrown in because most of the crypto crowd cannot really differentiate between, a judge in a court and a lawyer. They just think it's kind of all one big blob. And also the global financial crisis has quite often been attributable to lack of transparency, which we all know. But then the theory is, if we make the terms of a contract visible to all, we will have transparency. I like no comments. I don't even see how this is possible. We're not even allowed to do it because there are confidentiality issues here. So no humans, just code. Humans are generally bad. Humans bad, code good. So the idea, and this is what Elon said, what Lex Friedman said, if laws, rules, obligations are embodied in smart contracts, compliance is guaranteed. Well, okay. Those are all fiction. Those are all theories, because we have to really distinguish the ideology from the actual technology. We must also remember, as practicing lawyers or as academics, that the entire theory of smart contracts and cryptocurrencies was not created by lawyers. Those are people who I'm not saying they're bad people, I'm just saying they use legal terms in a very random, uninformed way. So crypto enthusiasts, uninformed use of legal terms, and lawyers, uninformed use of technical terms. If you're wondering about the background, this is Vitalik Buterin as the Messiah holding a Lambo. It's a Lamborghini, but you have to say Lambo. It's like a symbol of success. So if you have no Lambo, you haven't made it. Sorry. Okay. Now, there's a lot of confusion. And the funny thing is, this confusion has trickled into law. Okay, I'm going to show you something that will probably make you nauseous. But overall, the message is good. There's so much confusion that the amount of billable hours will be huge. So good news for the practitioners. Okay, some UL definitions. There's many, many more, but I just picked the ones that I kind of liked particularly. The first one, United States Code. Let's have a quick look, because when you look closer, the confusion, you can really see how immense the confusion is. So the first definition, federal level, smart contract is a computer program stored in a distributed ledger, et cetera, et cetera. It's actually good. It's actually closest to the technical definition in the NIST document. Next one, Illinois. A contract, an actual contract, stored as an electronic record. That would be probably a Word file or a PDF, which is verified by the use of a blockchain. So effectively, you put a PDF on a blockchain and the blockchain verifies it. The funny thing is, a blockchain cannot verify anything except for its own native cryptocurrencies. It's technically impossible, which basically shows you how zero clue the regulator has, which is kind of, great for us, yes, billable hours, but it's just scary. Then the next definition, I think this is Arkansas. A is actually quite good. Business logic that runs on a blockchain. Yes, you could say that smart contracts as the application layer. I think that's actually quite decent. Nothing legal about it, but technically correct. Then B gets a little bit weird because it's a software called a smart contract is defined as a software program that stores rules, okay, on a blockchain, but those rules are for negotiating the terms of a contract. Technically impossible. It is technically impossible. And then they automatically verify the contract. What do they mean? How do you verify a contract? You verify what exactly? Contents, performance, origin? I don't know. I don't know. And then executing the terms of a contract. We don't execute terms, we perform obligations last time I looked. And then we have Wyoming. Wyoming is blockchain crazy, so they have quite a few regulations, and they basically define it as an automated transaction. So everybody says something different. I think the US Congress or state legislatures will be very busy next year, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I might see you next year for a rundown what's happening in the States. Now, you thought, I know what you're thinking. Europe, the rescue. Maybe we can rely on the UK. Oh no. Oh no, it's going to get better. So fasten your seatbelts. UK Law Commission, smart legal contracts advice to the government. Now, it starts out quite nice. The document is available online. It's like 180 pages of very interesting things. So UKLC, the Law Commission, remember, those are really, really smart people. And they're all English. This is being recorded, yes? I don't think I will find a job in the UK anytime soon. Never mind. So they define it as computer code, which, you know, upon the occurrence of specified conditions, does so and so. It's not too bad. It's not too bad, but I do not understand why they define it, why they use the word code instead of just computer program, because code is defined as a language, which makes no sense, because code is just the expression of a programming language. It is not the programming language. Yeah, I mean, it's weird, but please note, everybody loves the word code because it sounds sexy. So everything has to be in code. And then computer program is defined as a collection of instructions. That's fine, that's actually correct, but it should just say smart contracts are computer programs, not the code. Because all computer programs are expressed in code, and all computer programs run automatically. I mean, that's the essence of every computer program. So they could have just said, smart contracts are computer programs. I don't know. So the definition seems to define smart contracts as programming languages, but equates them with computer programs. Okay, it's not bad. It's fine. We can live with this. The funny thing is, if smart contracts are just computer programs, well, there's no legal problem. Thank you very much, because we have been using computer programs to facilitate contracting and transacting for at least 60 years, if not more. And why would you want even to debate the question whether a computer program fits contract law? I mean, why would anyone debate whether a computer program can be a contract? And now some of you might say, oh yeah, you're so picky, why are you so difficult? Well, because it's the UK Law Commission and they are supposed to bring us certainty. But maybe somebody kind of indicated to them, why don't you make things a bit more difficult? So there's something for me to write about. Maybe it gets worse, because the UK Law Commission also stated that smart contracts can be used to define and perform the obligations of a legally binding contract. Let this sink in. I told you, fasten your seatbelts. And this in turn was defined as a smart legal contract. So we have this absolutely convoluted thing where smart contracts can define and perform obligations of a contract. Then they become smart legal contracts. And smart legal contracts are legally binding contracts. I just double checked this so many times because I thought that I love your expression on your face, because you're like, no, I'm not making this up. This is in the document. So this makes absolutely no sense. Smart contracts are computer programs, and when such computer programs are used to perform contractual obligations, they are legally binding contracts. I know. Sorry, guys. This is not me. This is the UK Law Commission. Yeah, that should be your reaction. So smart contracts define and perform contracts. They become smart legal contracts, which are legally binding contracts. First thing, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the word define and perform because the only person or entity that can define obligations or a contract are the parties to the contract. And then you can express them in any way you want. And the only entity or person who can perform a contractual obligation are the parties. That's like doctrine of privity. So a computer program cannot perform anything. It can be used in the performance. So when you look at the whole document, and this is reflected in a lot of legal literature, there's a common conflation with terms and obligations. We don't perform terms, we perform obligations. There's also a fixation on the expression that terms have to be expressed in code. Still no explanation why. It just sounds cool. I know that some of you are looking at me with disbelief. Why can't you just explain what they mean? I am not sure what they mean. We should maybe email them. They also seem to be conflating the very act of performance. And please remember, a contract can only be performed by definition by the parties to the contract. That's like contract law week 2. In year 1, with the means of performance. And of course, you can automate the performance of certain obligations. But it's like saying the software you use to automate the performance of your obligation becomes a legally binding contract. This is what it effectively says, which doesn't make much sense. Okay. Oh, what happened here? Oh. I have no idea how I did this, but it came out the wrong way. But it kind of, all right, it moves. Please know, okay, this is going to be even funnier to the extent anything can be funnier than the statement on smart contracts by the UK Law Commission. Please note that from their inception, smart contracts have been associated with 2 terms, self-execution and self-enforcement. I know, I mean, I love your expression, thank you. Now, as lawyers, what does the word to execute means? From what I remember when I was still in practice, to execute a document, a contractual document, is like you have it printed and ready to be signed, and then you sign it, and then you go and drink champagne. That's contract execution. So preparation of the final document and signature, yes? So what is self-execution? I'm not sure, but please know that technical people, the whole crypto crowd, sometimes mixes up legal terms with technical terms, and a code executes. The computer programs execute. So now here we have contracts executing. So it looks like the techno crypto crowd means that the contract performs itself, or is, I don't quite know, but the execution of a contract is mixed up with execution of computer code. And again, as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to performance, the only person who can perform a contract is one of the parties. I apologize for repeating myself, but that's kind of a little fact that gets forgotten very quickly. And a contract cannot perform itself. It's just makes no sense. Then enforceability, ladies and gentlemen, who enforces contracts? Courts, I mean, adjudicators. Yes, it can be a court, it could be an arbitrator, but a contract cannot self-execute and it cannot self-enforce. It's an absurdity. And yet, here we are. Oh my God, why is this? Sorry, sorry, I overdid on the animation, but I hope you're impressed with my knowledge of PowerPoint. Okay, there are some elephants in the room. Actually, one big elephant. Some of you are still asking yourself, because after all, how can so many people be wrong? And what is the whole purpose of the thing? So are smart contracts contracts? Can they be enforceable? Well, yes, but because there's no legal obstacle to a smart contract being a contract if you manage to squeeze it in to the analytical framework of contract law. Try as long as you want. Please remember, for a contract to be enforceable, you need intention, agreement, yes, and you need consideration. And weirdly enough, the related problems in legal and technical literature are usually expressed as, can the formation and performance of a contract be automated? Sure. Vending machines Hello. We've had them for over 2,000 years, by the way, vending machines. Can contracts be expressed in code? Sure, there is no prohibition. Are we legally allowed to express contracts in code? Sure, of course. We still don't know why, but can we do it? Sure, go ahead. Again, is it technically possible? Yeah, if you find an adequate programming language, sure, go right ahead. But then we are still stuck. We're kind of back to square one. So what for and what does it actually mean? Now, everybody's slightly tired. I'm really about to finish, but there's going to be a couple of very, very heavy slides. Ouch. To express something in code means to express it by means of a programming language. The programming languages are completely unambiguous. They do not require interpretation. And they have a very, very strict formalized syntax. So a term or a contract written in code would not be open to debate or reinterpretation, which sounds very attractive. Why do we want to write a contract in the programming language? 1 minute. Back to square one. Oh, this is not an accident. I'm intentionally reusing this slide. Remember, what are we trying to automate? Are we trying to automate contract performance or contract management? Do we want the code to be executable or only machine readable? If we want to express contracts in code for the purposes of contract management, we just need the code to be machine readable. If we want actual execution automation, it has to be executable. Now, we have a lot of papers in legal literature that are trying to combine code and natural language in one document. I reviewed quite a few of them yesterday. I still don't know what for. If anybody has any idea why you would want to put code straight into a contractual document, like a proper normal agreement that was signed by both parties, please email me. And of course, I know the example of the is the agreement for derivatives trading, but I still don't see the point. Technical observations. If we want to express a smart contract in code, this slides will be available for you, so please don't worry about reading everything. The smart contract will be written in source code. Source code facilitates programming. It's human readable. But the problem is smart contracts are always, no exceptions, executed in by machine code, or more specifically in bytecode. You can read the source code. What I showed you earlier was source code. You can't really read bytecode. Problem is source code must be converted into machine code by means of a compiler. And at this stage, you probably go like, oh, no, I'm going to leave soon. I can't take this anymore. Believe it or not, in technical literature, the sexy thing to do is write compilers for smart contracts, because this is the biggest problem in smart contract development. So while we are sitting here and talking about smart contracts in law, the technical people are all thinking about compilers. Why are they so important? Because the source code is the thing we see. And remember, the whole fascination, we want to see the code, and the code is in the legal document. How great is that? The thing is, the source code is just for us to program in and read. What is actually executed is the bytecode, and the compiler converts one into the other. And very often it doesn't do so correctly. That's the problem. So what you see is not what you get. And please note in bold a reference to EVM. It's called Ethereum Virtual Machine. Ethereum Virtual Machine is the butter or the mayonnaise that is between the bread and the toppings. It holds everything together. It's literally the mayo or the butter. Okay, so every smart contract has to be compiled to bytecode to run in the EVM. So my question to all those people who always want to incorporate code in contracts, I mean, no, you want to put in the source code? Yeah, but the source code is not executed. Do you want to put the compiler also in the contract? Yeah. How about we just put in the bytecode? No. So it's just, if you just put in the source code, it doesn't really give you much because it's not the thing that's being executed. But of course, it sounds pretty sexy if I say I put the source code into the contract. Now, the thing is, the funny thing is you can look at the source code. I showed you a snippet of source code. You can look at it all your life for hours. It doesn't really tell you what the contract will actually do, whether it will do what you think it will do or what you were told it would do. Because only bytecode is executed. And technically, if somebody gave you a smart contract and asked you, hey, would you like to be bound by this smart contract? You would have to spend a lot of time looking at the source code, then investigating the compiler and making sure the compiler converts it into bytecode correctly. So that would take you quite a bit of time. I can show you later how it's done, but I mean, can we sit here until 6? No. Okay. So some of the smart contracts on Ethereum are actually verified. So some, but only about 11% have been verified that the source code matches the bytecode. Only 11%. Otherwise, use at your own risk. And of course, smart contracts, another problem, are written in extremely new programming languages that are untested and unsecure. And those of you who are slightly technically inclined might be asking, oh, why can't you just write in C++ or in Python or in Java, something that's been around for many years? Well, because it cannot be compiled into the EVM and it cannot run on the blockchain. So you need to invent a new programming language to be compilable to the EVM, which I'm sure many of you probably already know. Last problem, impossible to write code without programming errors or bugs. So would you like to be bound by something that is full of bugs? Or do you just want to be like, you sign a contract and you rely that the other party performs without seeing any code? Because frankly speaking, I don't care what type of software HSBC or Tung or Citibank uses. I just want my money to hit the account and stay on the account, preferably. Okay, so we are going to, I'm almost finished. Please also know that as an extra boundary, smart contracts, once they are put on the blockchain, they're immutable. So even if you discover an error, you can't fix it. You can't update it. You can't patch a vulnerability. It's there. And all smart contracts are computer programs, and all computer programs contain bugs. For me, this is good news. I think we should all rejoice. Think about all those lovely lawsuits about, did you agree to the code, including the errors? Well, if you said yes to this code, because remember, one of the theories is that the code is like the terms. If you agree to the code, it's like agreeing to the terms, which is a really silly idea, but let's take this to court and let's bill accordingly. And also, please remember that the ability to view the code gives us absolutely nothing apart from bragging rights. I looked at the source code. It looks pretty good to me. Okay. Thank you. This is a different QR code. This is a different QR code. This goes straight to my blog about smart contracts. I don't post very often, don't subscribe, but there's a lot of funny little papers on smart contracts and a lot of, and I explain the self-enforcement quite well using the Russian and the Italian mafia as examples. Thank you so much. Questions, observations, comments, and thank you for not falling asleep. I appreciate it.